All right, everybody. Welcome to the very first edition of Ask Dr. Golden. And I'm Dr. Golden. I am excited to do this series with you all. And this really came because people ask me questions all the time in my professional journey, both as a educator, as a artist, as somebody who is a builder of social enterprises, as someone who is a champion for healthcare and for wellness, especially for leaders. I help leaders at Golden Global to build up themselves so that they can serve the community, they can serve their people. And I teach them some strategies from my 25 years in leadership that can really help them to grow. And that's where this came from. But enough about me. I really want to get into a question that was asked by one of my interns, and I thought it would be a great way to start off this series. The question they asked me is, what does it look like to lead with vulnerability in a world that often expects perfection? One of the things that makes a really great leader and really a great human being is the ability to be vulnerable. We need to be able to tap into the parts of ourselves that we don't often want to talk about. These are the things that make us who we are. It's what makes us attractive. It's what employers and people in relationships and our friends and family value most about us. It's the things that we can't really explain, but we're very good at being able to act on and to be. A lot of people will think about vulnerability and they'll see it as a weakness. They'll see it as something that I need to hide because I need to be the big bad leader and I need to come in with all this grandiosity and vivaciousness. But that's not really what we need as leaders. We need to be honest. We need people to see us as who we truly are for the lights that we are at the center of our beings. Vulnerability gives us the courage to show up as who we truly are. One of the champions for vulnerability for me was studying Brene Brown and thinking about some of the ways that my imperfect self can actually be exactly what people need, both in business and in life. One of the things that I think that we had a hard time doing as millennials, and I see it in Gen Z as well. I supervise a lot of Gen Z professionals and I train a lot of Gen Z professionals who are great. I think they're better than millennials. You guys are absolutely better than us. You are more advanced, you have better skills, you're quicker at getting things, and you have a deeper relationship to humanity that I think is going to push our species forward. And something from my life that I think about in my career when I think about the power of vulnerability is that I give speeches all the time, every week. I give speeches to different places around the globe, whether it's virtually or in person. I speak often to students and to organizations. When I first started speaking regularly and really morphed into this leader and builder of schools, I felt like I needed to become this provost that was stoic and didn't communicate emotions or didn't show vulnerable feelings. I found it was the opposite. I was on stage at one of our big graduation ceremonies at the Wilshire Ebell Theater. Just to tell you how big it was. Now it was giving very much the Academy Awards situation. And I appreciated that because what it did was it allowed me to see that the people, the hundreds of people who were watching us, who are watching me give this speech, needed something real. They needed to be able to not just see a leader who was going to talk about data and metrics and successes, but somebody who was going to be honest about what it meant to lead a behavioral health medical school in Los Angeles during the pandemic and what the pains were that came with that, how difficult times got for us. And so I found myself speaking to this audience, and people were looking at me like, yes, inspire us, inspire us. And there was a moment where, as I was talking, I started to really think about how difficult it was to get through that year during the pandemic and all of the last minute changes that happened, and students and faculty who had passed away, and how difficult being in this body and this skin was during that time. And something just overtook me. I remember I got emotional and I choked up and I started to cry on stage. This big black guy who people look at and they're like, that's Dr. Goldman, that's who we want to be like. I couldn't even hold the tears back because I was so tired and we had been through so much. And as I looked out in that audience, I looked at my students, I looked at my team members, I looked at mentors, I looked at community partners, and they were in tears. They felt not just this level of empathy for me, but they saw their own experiences in what I was talking about. It was like I had given them permission to be vulnerable and to say, I don't have to be somebody who is stoic all the time. I can be a phenomenal leader and I can show up here and I can cry. I can be emotional. I can be transparent. And from that moment forward in my career, I made it an obligation that whenever I get on a microphone, whenever I get on a video, whenever I speak to people, I'm not just speaking to them, I'm speaking through them and I'm speaking with them. And what they need is to see a human being. Now, if you want to become the leader of your dreams, if you want to impact people in a way that they can resonate with who you really are, be vulnerable. Be honest about who you are and what you're going through. If you're nervous, it's okay to say, you know, guys, I'm really nervous today. People respect that. Now, here's some things that you can do that are actionable. These are steps that you can take. First is to recognize your own humanity. And like I said, from my story, people appreciate and they respect people who are honest. People resonate with people who get up and speak and who are leaders who will say, guys, I don't know what I'm doing fully right now. Let's work on this together. You don't have to have all the answers. That's another myth that I don't know if we gave that as millennials or if that's just something that has traveled down through professionalism politics. You don't have to have all the answers. And sometimes you won't have the answers, and that's okay. Acknowledge your mistakes and use them as learning opportunities. It's okay with your team to be able to say, you know what, guys, I made a mistake here, or I thought this was going to work out this way, but it really didn't. People respect that in business because it shows that you're honest. And speaking of honesty, build trust through honesty. Be transparent with your teams. Be transparent with the people that you lead, with your families. Let them know what's going on for you. Let them know that things aren't the greatest right now. People will respect that. It's going to make you a stronger leader. Create space for others. There's nothing like being in a room or at a table of people who feel seen and heard. Allow them to be vulnerable. Challenge them to be vulnerable. With my apprentices, I let them know I am not interested in you coming in here and performing. I could have hired somebody else to do that. I want the real you. What are you feeling about this? Because then we have something we can work on. I can't work and play games. We need to get straight to the point. What are you really feeling? What's really happening for you here? We are doing work that is revolutionary in this world. So we need to be revolutionary when we come into these spaces where we're talking to each other. The flip side of that is that you have to balance authenticity with professionalism. And even though I'm not the biggest person who's going to come in here and talk to you guys about professionalism politics, the office is a place where you need to be able to remain professional and to understand that your team are not your therapists. and that the office is not a therapy session. And so vulnerability doesn't mean come in and tell all your business, but it does mean to be able to be honest about what's happening at work. Vulnerability is important when we come into our spaces and say, guys, we're going to have to go a different direction. We didn't make the quota this time. So you have to be mindful of the line between being vulnerable and oversharing. Nobody's interested in unpacking your entire life at work. We all have a lot going on. We all have lives, and it's okay to get a therapist. It's okay to go to a group. It's okay to come to a company like Golden Global and get the support that you need so that you can go into the office and you can be your vulnerable self, but in a professional way. So, what does vulnerability look like to you? I invite you to comment, to share this, to dig in and really think about what's happening for you as a young leader, as a new leader. What does it mean to be vulnerable today? And what does that look like? And is it okay? And are there things that are a little confusing about that? Are there things that we need to lift up a little bit more? I will definitely make it a priority to respond to everyone's comments. Feel free to DM me on whatever platform you watch this on. The most important thing is that you grow. And it doesn't matter if it's on YouTube or Instagram or LinkedIn, but I want you guys to feel comfortable. Some comments you might not want to put in the chat. Some comments you might not want to drop under the video. I would encourage you to, but also reach out to me if you need some help, if you have deeper questions that you really want to figure out about vulnerability. So that's it. And look out next week. I'll have another question. If you guys have questions out there, feel free to send them to me. You can send them via email or drop them in the chat or DM me on any of the platforms. As long as I'm here on this earth for the rest of my life, I'm planning to give back. I'm a servant leader and I'm here to serve my people and the community. So if you need something, reach out to me. Be courageous, be honest, be vulnerable, but most importantly, be healed. Thank you for watching Ask Dr. Golden. Blessings over you and blessings over me. Until next time.